Hey, what's up? This is Donnie, and in this video is going to be about setting up a simple inventory system in Unity. And let me show you how it works. So here we are in the starter level, and we have these items in the scene, and if we run across them, we pick them up, and the item is added to our inventory. And each different item is added to the inventory, and it's stacked on similar items. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I set this up, and then we're going to try to recreate the same inventory system. Alright, so it's I tried to streamline this system, keep it simple. I have basically 4 scripts involved. I have this item class, this item script, inventory script, and this inventory bar script. Alright, start off with the inventory. So this is a simple class for the items in our inventory, and we have item name, icon, and a stack size, and I set that to 1. And then over here we have the item script. Now this script is going to be added as a component to all the different items that are going to be picked up. So I have a string here for a public string for item name, public sprite for item icon, and a public item for item. And this is going to be so you can input the name and the icon in the inspector. So in the start of the script, we need to create the new item object, and then we set the item object's name to this public string here, and we set the icon to this public sprite here. And then I have a public method that'll return the item. So when other scripts call this script, they can get the item out. Alright, so that's that. And then we have the inventory script. Now this goes on the player. So the inventory is basically a list of items, this class right here, and the items that get created right here. So this list is just a list of those, and we have the inventory list here. And we have a delegate event. We're not going to worry about that just yet. So at the start, we create the new list. And then we have a method for returning the inventory list. And we have a method for adding items to the list. And we'll go into more detail later about that. And then we have this inventory bar script, which goes on this inventory bar, which is under the canvas inventory bar. And it's where I keep the slots for the icons and then the stack number. And if I open this, you'll see it has a background, the hotkey, the icon, and the stack frame, which is the number of items that are stacked, and then the stack number. So going back to the script. So we have we set up an array for all the item slots, an array of game objects called item slot, and then we set up a variable to hold the inventory list, and then I also want to hold a reference to the inventory script. So in the start, we create this new array of 3 game objects. Since I only have 3 slots, I only have 3 objects in this game. Of course, you can increase that if you have more objects in your game. And then I go ahead and set each of the item slots by their index number to the game object. So it says transform.getChild game object. So of this inventory bar, it has 3 children, and each child is set to an item slot. And here I set the reference to the inventory script, so I can get that later a little quicker. I also have this update bar method, which updates all the icon and the stack frame number in the UI. And I'm just using a for loop, and I'm looping through all the item slots and setting active if they are active, and then setting the image, and then setting the stack number. So in here I have this this delegate event, and I set up the delegate event here in the inventory script, and it's on inventory change. So what this does is whenever there's a change in the inventory, it triggers this on inventory change delegate event. So the inventory bar is subscribed to this on inventory change delegate event. So whenever there's a change in the inventory, the UI gets changed also. And the last thing I have on here is a method for onTriggerEnter, and this is just the way I'm going to collect the objects. This is going to collide with the other objects, and the other objects are tagged as item. And then I'm going to access the other script and add the other item object to the inventory list. So there's that, and it should work in whatever order I go to. And there we go. And these hotkeys are set up for example, if you want to use each of these items. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but that might be a future video. So now that we've gone over the setup, I would like to reproduce this inventory system from scratch. Alright, so the first thing to do is create an entirely new scene. Let's go back into this playground scene that comes with the starter assets. And we've got a blank scene. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. And I have this inventory system folder up here. Let's create a new folder. This is going to be inventory system 2. And let's move this into here. And rename this scene. And let's open this scene. Alright, so the first thing we're going to need is the item script. So let's call this item. So there's probably going to be a conflict with these other scripts. Yeah, the global namespace already contains the definition for item. So let's set up a new namespace for this. Let's call this I2 just for briefness. And there we go, that cleared up that error. So the item script is just going to be a normal class. Or this is where we're going to set up what information an item is going to hold. So public string item name. It's going to be useful. It's going to need a sprite. And we're going to have a stack size too. This doesn't need to be public. And we can go ahead and set that to 1 as default. And let's compare that to the previous script. Alright. Oh, I had to set to public there. I don't think that should matter, but I guess we'll see. Alright, so we have the item class set up. Now we need to do an item script, which is going to actually create the item object. So it's going to be item script. and we have the same error. So namespace I2. So what I'm going to do is have the data in here public so we can edit it in the inspector, and then we're going to set the item object to those variables. So basically all of these we're going to make public here. So actually we could probably just copy these two and we're going to make these public. And then we also need to make a variable to hold the item. Let's see how that looks. Public item. Okay, let's make this public. That's right, because the other script's going to need to access that. So after we do that, we need to create the object. So item is equal to new item. And then after we create the object, we need to set the data of the object. So item dot item name is going to be equal to item name. Item icon is going to be equal to this item icon. All right. And item script. What else did we need on the item script? Oh, and we're going to have a get item method so other scripts can access it. So it's going to be public. And that's just going to return the item. All right. Oh, okay. This is not void. It's the return type is item. There we go. Let's compare that. Yeah. Okay. That's good. All right. So now we have the item script set up. We should go ahead and set up some items. I'm not going to do that here because these items are fairly simple. So I'll go ahead and just drag one into the scene and show you what it is. And it's basically just a cylinder. I'll open this up. It's basically just a cylinder with a capsule collider. It has an item script. Let's get rid of that. And it's set to tag item. And let's go ahead and add the other item script. How does it know which one? I guess I'll just make sure I drag from over here. So this item script. There we go. And we need to give it a name, soda, and then we give it a sprite. We'll go ahead and use this sprite from over here. All right, go ahead and save that. And now we need to do the other items too. So let's grab a mushroom, move it up, and let's open that, unpack completely. Let's get rid of the old script. And make sure we grab, oops, not the item script. And then we have to rename this mushroom and add the mushroom sprite. There we go. And this is also has a sphere collider. And this mushroom is made of two deformed spheres. And I took the collider off of the small one. I just have one on the top. So with the sphere collider, set the trigger. The soda is also set to trigger. And the material And we have the item script with the name and the icon. Okay, soda. And now let's drop in the pill. There's the pill. Let's move it up. And let's unpack that. And we'll get rid of the script. And we'll put on inventory system 2 script. Name that pill. Drop in the pill sprite. And then collider set to trigger, and the tag is set to item.
Alright, so our items are set up. Let's duplicate these, add a couple more. Okay.
Alright, so now that we have the item set up, now we need to work on the inventory itself. So let's create an inventory script. I'm going to call this inventory 2, just so there's no confusion. And let's open that. Alright, so this inventory. So basically the inventory is going to be a list. So let's set up a variable for that. It's going to be a list of type item. And let's call it inventory list. Alright. And it doesn't need to be public. So inventory list is equal to new list of items. Great. Now we need some methods. We need a method to add items. Eventually we're going to need a delegate event for when the inventory updates. And this needs to be public. It's going to return a list of items. And get inventory list. And there we go. Pretty simple return. Now this one's going to be a little more complicated. How do we add items? It's not going to return anything. And what we're going to want is an item that's going to be added. So at its simplest, inventory list.add item. That's going to add an item no matter what. And when do we add an item? Well, it's whenever we run into one. So void, and so whenever we untrigger enter. And how do we know if we want to add that to the inventory? Well, it's if the tag is an item. So if other that tag is item, then we'll call the add item. And okay, come on, item. And actually that's not going to work. We need to make sure we get item. Oh no, we need to get the item script. And then we need to call get item. There we go. All right, so we're going to get the other item through the item script, and then we're going to add the item right here. And let's check that to the other script. Oh, and then we need to either deactivate or destroy the other game object. In this script, I just broke it down a little bit more. It's a little more succinct in the script I have. So here at first, I set up a reference to the other script. And then I set up a reference to the other, or I call the get item method to get the other item. And then I call the add item method with this other item. So whereas in this script, I just do it all in one shot, which should be fine. And then I need to deactivate the other game object. Set active false. There we go. I'm not sure if I should destroy or deactivate them. I feel like I should destroy them at some point. I do notice a little bit of lag if I destroy them, a little more lag than if I just set it to deactive. So I'm just going to leave it like this for now. At some point, I'll try to optimize that. So that's all set. Now this needs to be a little more complicated because there are different cases here, and we also need to incorporate the stack number. Now, I'm just going to look at the other script. It's pretty complicated, so let's just work from the other script. All right, so we have an if statement, and this is if the inventory is empty, you want to add the item. So this is for the very first item, so that makes sense. So we'll just grab that. Okay, so if the inventory list is 0, then we just add the item. Otherwise, it's not the first item. And we need to check to see if we can stack it. So I have a bool here for when the item has been added. And it starts off as false because it hasn't been added yet. So that's fine. And then for each item I in the inventory list, so we're going to loop through each item that's already in the inventory list. If the item name is equal to, and this is the item that we're adding, is equal to the item that's already in the inventory, that means we're going to stack it. So we take the item in the inventory, increase the stack size, and then we set this in list to true. So just copy that. All right. And now we need to check. So we ran through the list to check to see if we could stack it. And if it's not in the list, that means we can't stack it. So we should just add it as an item. Instead of increasing the stack size, we just add it as an item. And this is so in case maybe we have another item before it, and this item that we're adding is like the second item. So that makes sense. So if it's not already in the list, we're going to add it. All right. And the last thing we need to do, is invoke this on inventory change delegate, which we haven't set up. So let's set that up. All right, so we need a delegate event. So it's going to be public delegate void. Let's just call this inventory delegate. And we need to set up an event. It needs to be static. And it needs to be type of inv inventory delegate, and we're going to call this on inventory change. Oops, we don't need that. On inventory change. So this delegate is going to update all the subscribers whenever we change the inventory here in this script. So let's go down, and this happens after all of this. So after we've gone through all this logic, we know we've definitely changed the inventory. So we will trigger this delegate event. And it's going to be on inventory change. And that's the null check. Then we invoke. All right. So that's that. So that's us adding. We don't have one for removing yet. That could be another video. Okay, we have the get inventory. All right, let's see. It should be everything. So let's add that to the player. So we have a player armature. And then we're going to go ahead and add the inventory script. Inventory 2. All right. At this point, I think the player should be able to pick things up. Oh, reference not set to. Oh, why is that? Oh, you know what? Because it's not in the same namespace. I need to make sure we change the namespace. Namespace I2. All right, that should help. Let's try this again. Oh, item stack size is inaccessible. Oh, okay, so I guess I did need to make it public. So let's make this public. All right, let's try this again. All right. So we're picking things up, adding them to the inventory, but we need some way to know that. So we need some kind of UI. So let's set up a UI. First, let's put all these pickups in the same place. So this UI is set up very specifically because of the way I want to have it accessed through the script. So I need to make sure I do this in the proper order. So I'm going to create an image. And this is going to be the inventory bar. And actually, I don't actually need the image. Okay, on the inventory bar, I need a horizontal layout group. And now we need to create another UI child of that. And this is going to be the inventory slot. And actually, this doesn't need the image either. Now, the inventory slot is very specific. So I need to add, in order, an image. It's going to be the background. And then I need to add some text, which is going to be the hotkey. Then I need to add an image for the icon. Then I need to add an image for the stack frame. And then I need to add a child of the stack frame, which is the stack number. Another TextMesh Pro. And let's move that up. Oops. Let's move up the inventory bar. Let's make this 2D. All right. Okay, now let's set up the inventory slot. So this is the background, it's that white square. So I want to bring this down to maybe 20% opacity. The icon, we're just gonna turn that off for now. We're gonna keep the image, but we're gonna turn it off because it's going to be turned on later by the script. And the stack frame, let's make that dark gray. And let's make that smaller. Oh. And we'll place that in the upper right. And now we have the stack number. Let's do our auto size. Make it a lot smaller. And we'll center it. And this is just going to have the number in the stack. And this is just some default number for right now. Or this is just placeholder information for right now. All right, so stack frame is done. Icon, that's going to be set up by code. And this is going to be the hotkey. Run that down, auto size. Center that. All right, that looks good. All right, so that's our inventory slot. And since we have it in this horizontal layout group, we'll duplicate it. And we only have 3 items, so I'm just going to make 3 slots. And give it a little spacing. So that looks good. I'm going to rename these by the index number. So it's going to be 2, 1, 0. And these 2 are going to be deactivated by default. And for some reason, having one already open at the beginning, it prevents lag for some reason. There's a little hiccup or spike if there's no inventory slot open already. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but we'll just leave one open. So we should have that be some kind of default information. So I'll just put that in for the number. All right, so we have our inventory bar set up. Now we need to do our inventory bar script. So let's add a new script. And let's name that 2. I'm gonna have to change that now. So I'm gonna change this. Change that to 2 and put it in the namespace, the I2 namespace. So what do we need for the inventory bar? Well, at least we know that we're going to need a method to update the inventory bar. And this is going to be called whenever the inventory changes. So we're going to subscribe to our delegate event in inventory 2. And that's inventory 2 dot on inventory change. And that's how you subscribe. So whenever inventory change is triggered, this method is going to be called, or it's going to be triggered also. And then we need to disable also. Oh no, it's on disable. Always get that wrong. And then you have to do the minus equals. All right, so that's set up. So how do we update the inventory bar? I really don't remember. All right, let's see what we had before. Okay. So we need to create an array of game objects for the item slots. And then we need to create a list to hold the inventory list. And then also a reference to the inventory script. So I'm just going to copy all that. Okay, so when we start, we need to set these up. Let's start out with the game object. Let's start out with the array. So we need to create the array. So item slot is equal to new game object, and it's 3. So there we go. And then we need to set up each individual item slot. So item slot 1, or item slot index 0 is going to be transformed by get child. It's on the inventory, and it's going to get the first child, get child 0. That game object. All right. And then we can just duplicate that one. And so item slot index 1 is going to be get child 1, and index 2 is going to be child 2. All right. And now we need to set up this reference. Actually, we don't need that yet, because we're going to get that when we update. We need to get a reference to the inventory script. Okay. So inventory script is equal to find object of type inventory script. Inventory 2. Oh, then we need to get it. Get component. All right. Still not right. Inventory script. Oh, we need to make it type inventory 2. There we go. Inventory 2, inventory bar 2. Okay, there we go. So that should be it for that. We're setting it up. Let's see how it compares. Oh, we need to create the new list also. All right, so that's good. That's good. We need to create the new list. So inventory list. And there we go. It's a new list of items. All right. So we have this set up here for the delegate. And now we need to update. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting the inventory list back from the inventory script. And then I'm setting this X to the count. In this script, we'll just we won't use that. We'll just put that directly into the loop. So we have our inventory list, and we need to set that to inventory script. Oh, there we go. Because we already have a reference to the inventory script, and we just need to call the method to get the inventory list. Put that into our inventory list, and then we're going to loop through the array. Int I is equal to 0. Int I is equal to 0. I is less the inventory list dot count. I plus perfect. All right. So now we need to update our slots. So what do we need to update? We need to update the icon and the stack number. So item slot 0 dot, okay. So item slot 0, we need to update the icon. And we need to turn on the image. So item 0 dot, so we need to get a reference to the icon. So get child. No, not get component children. Oh, we need to get the transform. Transform dot get child. And it is the 1, 2, 3rd child. So index 2. Get child dot get component. We need to grab the image. Oh, and we're not getting it because we need to add using UI. UI, and we're also using Text Mesh Pro, so we should add a using for that. All right. So now we can grab that image component, get the component and set it to active. No. So we got the child, we got the component, we got the image. I'm going to see what we did here. We just set the entire game object to active. So leave that on, just turn that off like that. All right. So let's go back here. So we don't need to get the game object actually, or we don't need to get the component. We just take the game object and set that to true. But first of all, we need to turn the entire slot active. And that needs to be I also. That. Set active. True. Now it won't affect the first slot, but it will affect these other ones as it goes through the loop. So it's already active. It'll set it to active. It's going to grab the icon, set that to active. So it'll grab the icon and set that to active. And then what we need to do is put in the right icon in the frame. So item slot. So what we need to do is grab the sprite. We need to grab the sprite here. So it's going to be a lot like the one we just statement right before it. Transform dot get child 2 game object so this time we're going to get the component. Yep, and the sprite, and that's going to be equal to our inventory list. All right, so it's going to be equal to the icon in the inventory list. And then we just need to set the stack size. So item slot I. And we have to go down a couple levels. So it's 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So we get that. We need to get the game object. Then we need to get their child. Get child 0. Game object dot get component. Holy cow. I'm probably doing this wrong. So we get the component. We need to get the component, the text mesh, or the pro u text mesh pro u GUI. Dot text. We're going to set that equal to our inventory list item, and it's going to be stack size. Set that to string. Whoa. Okay, let's have a look. Seems a little more verbose than necessary, but it might. I know it's right, but so transform, get child, transform. Oh, I don't need all these game object references, do I? I can just do transform, just get object. So transform, get child, transform, get child, get component, text. All right. Okay. So that's that. And is there anything else on here? No, that's it. So that should be everything. Let's see if it works. All right, it's not working. So let's see what happened. What did we not do? Okay, so I found another problem. I didn't put the script on the inventory bar, so nothing's happening. So inventory bar 2, let's add that, and that should be everything. Boom, there we go. 1. Well, seems like there's a problem with the icons for some reason. But the stack size is going okay. Alright, let's have a look. It's probably in the script here. Sprite. Oh, it's turned off, and these are the ones. That's what it is. It's not the script at all. It's only turned off. It only needs to be turned off on this very first one. Actually, the icon can be turned off, but the image itself, the image component needs to be turned on. Okay, that should be it. Boom, there we go. Oh, the only thing we need to do is change the hotkeys on here. So let's look at that. This one should be 2. And this one should be 3. All right. And I need to fix this layout, obviously. I'll get to that later. 2, 3. All right, there we go. And the next thing would, of course, be to set up the functionality where I can press 1, 2, or 3 and use up those items, and then have the functionality work to do something in the game. But for now, I've got a working inventory system. And to briefly review, I have inventory script on the player. And then I have this inventory bar with an inventory bar script and slots here for each of the icons and stack sizes. Each of my items have an item script, and in the item script it creates the object, and then we can put in the name and the icon here. And I've got 4 basic scripts. This item class, this item script class, this inventory script, which creates the inventory, which is a list of items. And then it has functions, or has methods to add items and to get the inventory list, which I don't think I call actually in the inventory bar. Oh yes, I do, right here. And then I have a delegate event for when the inventory changes. And then I have a script for the inventory bar. And that just updates the inventory with the stack size and the inventory icon. All right, I hope that made sense, and I hope that was helpful. It's helpful for me. It was kind of hard setting up this inventory system. I read a lot and tried a bunch of tutorials, and I developed this sort of streamlined inventory system that works specifically for my game, which is a cool thing about game development for indie. Is you just need to set it up to work in your game. It doesn't need to be that modular. Although I guess you could extend this inventory system. But all right, I think that's good. Take care.